You can't make this up. You can't make this up. Oh man.
To be undefeated and have aspirations. And you were undefeated going into a play call that and listen, Mario said he kind of threw everybody under the bus. Like, the player who fumbled it, the offensive coordinator, he has to step in and say, no. Victory formation, and we win.
It's Third and Nole. We came together, all three of us reaching for one common goal. This is our show. Listen, you might get perspective of something that you didn't know. We gonna go all the way real with the topics. When you see Whitty, P. Austin, and Crockett, pressure good blisters, we stay in the pocket. Picture the run to the quarterback option. Organic process, listen and watch us. Everyone welcome, this is our casa. First and goal, second we throw. Short a few yards, Third and Nole. Third and Nole. Third and Nole. Third and Nole.
Guys, welcome back to another edition of Third and Nole. This is also going to be, we're going to start this as an introduction. This is the We Don't Kneel edition of Third and Nole. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment.
Third and Petty. This is a Third and Petty podcast.
Man.
Hey, listen, it's allowed. It's allowed. Guys, we got to witness the Noles, the top 5 team in the country, move to 5-0 for the first time, I believe, since 2016. Had some incredible things happen this game, some things that we really liked, a couple things that I didn't particularly like. Let's jump in and talk about it. First things first, I want to say thank you. And I think we, the three of us, get to take full credit because we've been begging for Trey Benson to show up. And there's really no other justifiable reason for his performance other than our podcast begging him to show up to his latter half of 2022 form. Big shout out to Trey Benson, man. Golly, he looked like an NFL running back Saturday.
Absolutely. Way to tote that rock, young man.
Welcome back, sir. Welcome back.
So Florida State beats Virginia Tech. What is a Hokie? We don't know. Nobody knows. Final score 39-17. Man, the Noles ran up quick. We received the kickoff, methodically moved the ball down the field. We pull some trickeration out on the extra point conversion. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, the way I looked at it was obviously they saw something in the lineup that says we can take advantage of this, right? And it's reading cues, is my opinion. They saw something and said, okay, if they line up in this way, we'll go ahead and do the 2-point conversion. If not, we'll realign it and kick the extra point. Is that kind of what you guys saw on TV?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. But I remember Papuchis talking about it in the past, that it was like a numbers game. Like when they line up like that, if the team doesn't have the right numbers on that side and they have the advantage and the leverage, then that's when they decide to take advantage of it.
It's crazy because I think that's the first time I've ever actually seen the conversion attempt run, right? Like I feel like it's almost always one of those, they do one of those misalignment things where everybody is offset way to the side. And then at the last second, everybody runs in and you kick a field goal. But I think it's the first time I've actually seen the conversion actually attempted, and then they pulled it off. So shout out to the special teams unit for giving future teams something else to think about, right?
For sure.
But I mean, listen, guys, I sent the text from the game. The first quarter, we looked like a top 5 team in the country. Defense held it down. They started fast, right? Like that's been a complaint that we've had, is that it took too long to adjust at the beginning of the game. Offense was really doing what they wanted. I mean, the wide receiver QB connection looked good. Benson was running very hard, no tiptoeing. He hit the hole and just took off, as evidenced by his yards per carry. so
that's what a number one draft pick is supposed to do. I thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Trey.
What are you referencing?
He's referencing a sorry fantasy team.
Oh, my Excel file is corrupted. So
here you go again.
Mm-hmm. See how it feels. See how it feels.
So we'll unfortunately we'll get to that a little bit later. So I mean, what are your thoughts on the first quarter? Anything that really stood out to you other than what we've already mentioned?
I was just happy that offensively and defensively, I know on our last podcast, we recognized that, yes, we were 4-0, but I know I felt that it was time for us to start off attacking. And I wasn't sure that defensively and offensively, collectively, we started the game attacking. And coming out of the bye week, the team did that. It was clear that they were going to make a statement starting this game off, and they did. They made their presence known.
Agree. Offensively, we started with the rhythm and kept it going for the first quarter. Defense, they came out aggressive. I mean, very first play, Virginia Tech tries to go play action, and we blitz off the edge, and I think the defense set the tone early. We're going to be aggressive. We are going to dictate what you do, and I was impressed.
I mean, first quarter again, it was really domination, and it was one of those games that felt like Florida State could name their score, right? Then the clock rolls over to 15, and Q2 pops up on the scoreboard, and things slowed down. First thing that you have to identify is we really didn't have the ball much in the second half, and at halftime for us to have the time of possession advantage was mind blowing to me because I felt like Florida State didn't get the ball at all in the entire second quarter. They did, I think, one drive, but the second quarter, man, before we get into the officiating, because I think that was a significant component of the second quarter, anything else outside of the officiating issues that our oh so professional ACC officials tend to show up in the most opportune times. But what else about the second quarter may have stood out to you?
I think there were a few times where Virginia Tech, they were able to get pressure on Jordan Travis with just 4. And you can tell he was not happy with his offensive line in the second quarter. I mean, really, those were the biggest things for me. And then,
Hey, Phil, before you move on, let me ask something about the offensive line because it's a little bit more difficult, I think, when you're watching the game live to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Scott was back,
mm-hmm.
and I think he played a lot, if I recall, and he had been out previously. What was the offensive? I remember seeing a bunch of offensive line shuffle. Do you think that was part of the concern? Is that now I think most of us agree that Robert Scott is one of the best options at tackle. But again, you're also now reshuffling the deck as far as what that starting line up looks like and the cohesion there. Could that have been part of the problem?
It could be. I think also, and Norvell admitted they knew Robert Scott wasn't ready to, maybe play 60, 70 snaps. So that was a big reason they were rotating him in and out. They're trying to work him in, slowly but surely. It could be a reason why, but to Croc's point from last week, when you're talking about not having blue chip talent on the O-line, there shouldn't be a time when we can't block the front 4 against a Virginia Tech team on a pass rush.
Awesome. Great points, Phil. I appreciate that. What about you, Croc? What stood out to you in the second quarter?
Yeah, just horrible officiating. I think the guys came out ready to play, but it's football. And I know early on in Norvell's tenure, he was saying momentum really isn't a thing. It's about the next play. But momentum is a thing. And when whistles are blown, flags are thrown, it just kills the drive. And that's really what happened. And then VT was able to just inch their way down the field. So it was just one of those quarters. It happens.
I tell you what's funny. The guy that sits in front of me at the stadium, his name is TJ, and he put his finger to his ear like he was listening into the earpiece, and he goes, "What's that, Charlotte? It's 22-0, and we need to level this game out. Okay, I got you." And then right after that was the crap roughing the passer call against Turner that took away Thomas's absolutely phenomenal interception. Like you will not find many more athletic catches, interceptions, whatever, this football season, right? And it's a shame they wiped it away because that was just an incredible, it would have killed their momentum, right? But just unbelievable. And it was funny because it happened right after he did that. The second thing that I have to question is, I feel like on that same drive, and you guys were watching on TV, did it not look like like straight up swept the turf with the ball on that catch where, I mean, how did they not review that? How did Norvell, and quite honestly, I was upset that Norvell didn't throw the review flag. Some coach from the box has got to get in his ear, because it sure looked to me live, and then on the jumbotron, it looked like the ball touched the ground. What did you guys see on TV?
Ball definitely touched the ground, but it looked like the receiver or the running back, whoever it was, potentially controlled the ball. It looked like it was really close to the same time, but I think it definitely warranted a second look. And the mere fact that the referees didn't, institute that or initiate that, it just kind of showed just how the day was going to go flag wise.
Yeah, agree.
Well, there was also another situation whereby I feel like on one of their fourth down conversion attempts, like it looked really close, but the side judge immediately stepped in and like was pointing first down before the pile had even cleared. And we were like, well, that didn't make a lot of sense to us in the stadium either. Like how did they, I mean, unfortunately, those plays are so freaking hard to review because the bodies are all stacked in there. You can't really tell where the ball is. So you almost have to go with what the official says is going to be the judgment call, right? There are some camera angles that may help dispute it, but the fact that he almost immediately called first down when it looked like he very well could have been short was troubling. And it was just one of those things, like all those things happened on the same drive that ended up giving Virginia Tech some momentum. And it was really frustrating to see in the game.
It reminds me of those situations where you're in the game and you're up big and like the refs are almost showing the team that's losing pity. Like, okay, we know you're way better than them. Like, let's give them a chance to, do something. You're going to win anyway. Like, that's almost how the refs officiated the second quarter.
Right. And I will say it did seem like we were part of the plan going into this game was that defensively they were going to rotate a lot of guys. And that second quarter, a lot of guys were rotated in, but it's 22-0. I mean, I think that was a good decision. But had they not, maybe VT doesn't move the ball the way they did.
That's a good point.
But I think that was a good decision to play guys, to get them experience, because we're going to need them down the stretch.
It's funny you say that because I immediately recognized when Blake Nicholson entered the game and the very first play, he got sucked up and the ball went right where he abandoned. And he ended up making the tackle or was at least involved in slowing the guy down, but it went for an 8-yard gain. And it was right where the play action kind of brought him in. So, that's a good point, too. I agree with you. It really did feel like the officiating, the officials inserted themselves into the game, which is unfortunate. As Florida State fans, we feel this is nothing new, right? We've seen this story play out before. It was frustrating, but it is what it is. I mean, I don't know what else to say about what the expectations should be when you're a Florida State fan in the ACC with the ACC officials. You just got to expect that those kind of things are going to happen. So I think I heard that Florida State, up until the kickoff at the beginning of the third quarter, had the longest streak of not allowing a kickoff or a touchdown in the NCAA. And Norvell said post-game, like they pride themselves on kickoff coverage, punt coverage, and they're going to have to go back and take a look at that. Did y'all see anything like that? Was it just a gap that was created by somebody falling, or like what happened there? Was it just poorly executed defense? Like what happened?
I think Fitz probably would have liked to kick the ball a little further between the hash and out of bounds, but the ball just kind of sailed and it landed like right at the hash. And that running back, who doesn't strike me as being all that fast, just found a crease.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Phil, what were your thoughts on the kickoff return and coverage? Did you see anything that drew concerns there?
I think my biggest concern was, I mean, it looks like some people may have been out of position, out of their lanes, which led to it. But more importantly, like I get why we kick it how we do, so they catch it at the 3 or the 4. We try to catch them behind the 20-yard line, but you're up. You have the dominant team. Your defense is playing great. Kick it out the end zone and just make them earn it. That's how I feel. But that's what I noticed while watching it on TV.
And let's be honest, wasn't Beamer ball like all about special teams, right? Like, wasn't that something that that program is known for?
It was. I feel like Norvell even mentioned it in the pregame interview. Special teams being a part of VT's history.
Yeah. So why even mess with that?
So now, after going into halftime up 22-10, they return that kickoff. We had to have a significant response. We had to, right? So if I recall the sequence of our first drive in the third quarter, we had one play that got some yardage, right? Or maybe it was an incomplete play. I forget what the very first play was, but the second play was that catch by Johnny Wilson that effectively knocked him out of the game. We couldn't really tell. It looked like he got sandwiched, and they didn't show any replays of it on the Jumbotron. So what did you guys see regarding Johnny Wilson on that catch?
6'7", it's just, it doesn't always fold up well, Caught the ball and was immediately kind of tackled. And it seemed like he landed awkwardly. Again, 6'7", everybody can, I'm not nearly 6'7", but there's just a lot of legs. And it seemed like he had a lower body tweak, hopefully,
Yeah, just hope he gets back soon.
He seemed to suggest post-game that it would not take him long to get back, which I think we're all grateful for, because he was playing good. And, we've mentioned time and again on our podcast, other people have mentioned it, and even the eye test, right, is he, in spite of his size, he gets separation, which is just incredible. Like, when he catches the ball, he is open when he catches it, which is just unbelievable.
There's just so much you have to respect with Johnny. I mean, he's definitely has in the offseason put the work in. He had one bad game, but outside of that, I mean, he's been locked in. You have to respect the deep ball. You also have to, respect those route breaking in routes that they do. So we need him. He's an intricate part of this offense. One of the main focal points.
No doubt. Well, respond, right? We needed to respond, and here we are, less than a minute into the third quarter, and boom, Trey Benson takes off. And he showed that 2022 speed, boy. My man, no half-stepping, no second-guessing. He was gone.
Gone like Winston Wright.
Oh, no. No.
Third and Petty. Come on, man. Third and Petty.
Wow.
Yeah, Ben's. I think O-line, is clear that they worked on some stuff in the offseason. I mean, in the bye week. Combine that with Benson really running with purpose, and he was off to the races.
You did that, Phil. That's unbelievable. Gone like Winston Wright. Hey, listen, Trey Benson was toting Saturday. I mean, he looked good.
He did. To the tune of 200 yards. Jeez, good night. He went crazy, man. This is the first since Dalvin.
Yes.
That's correct.
So, second quarter, well, I mean, really, you talk about from the second half, they got their little kickoff return, and that was it. That was it for Virginia Tech. They didn't do anything else the rest of the game. Florida State went ahead and took care of business from that point forward. We went ahead, and when you look at how the summary of the game went, they get that. Fitzgerald continues to impress. I mean, who would have thought this a year ago, right? Like a year ago at this time, we were all second guessing Ryan and his abilities and questioning whether or not we needed to seek an alternative there. But he's done nothing but been solid since. Hits his field goal, and then we score another 7 in the fourth quarter. Let's take a moment to recognize and I think it was actually in the first half, but we missed it. Lawrence Toafili's touchdown run? Are you kidding me? Like, all this guy does is score touchdowns or close to touchdowns by rolling over people and keeping it going. Like, I think he got 6 yards on top of Virginia Tech bodies. That's crazy.
Swag surf, man. Swag surf.
Was he a holdover from Taggart? Is that where he learned that?
Swag surf, man.
Yeah, he has a unique ability to slide on players and to stay up and to score touchdowns.
It was unbelievable. Like, I saw it as soon as it happened. I was like, he didn't go down, right? Like, I guess a touchdown, and it looked like the officials kind of looked at each other for a second, like, yeah, he did it. He did it. That's a touchdown. Unbelievable play, unbelievable effort by Lawrence Toafili. It was good to see a slot receiver finally catch a ball like that. I haven't seen much of that. And Destin Hill, not only did he have a catch, it was a pretty incredible catch too.
Right.
Showed some athleticism, and you kind of see, even in a very small sample size, what's in the future for that young man. So I look forward to seeing more number 7 catching and running. So, we got some other things that we can talk about. What other comments do you guys have on this beatdown of Virginia Tech, Florida State moving 5-0 up to number 4 in the AP and coaches poll? We got a couple other things that we can talk about, or that we will talk about, but let's put some finishing touches on this game against Virginia Tech.
I did like the attempts that were made to get Douglas the ball.
Yeah. Yep.
We saw some not necessarily wheel routes, but those out and ups that he's elite at, that breakaway speed. And if JT would have just put a little more on those, probably could have been to the house. So it's good to see them scheming open some slot work. But that was really the only critique I had against this offense. I mean, the O-line is the O-line. You can't just fix that overnight. But as far as play calling, the slot attention has really only been my main critique. And then in the first drive, I also love the tempo that we started the game with. So this team is gelling. I think this team has potential when it's all put together to be elite. We just haven't seen 4 quarters of football as yet. And coach has brought this team a long way. So I don't have any gripes or issues. I'm happy to be a Nole, and I'm happy to be 5-0.
Facts. Big facts. I honestly don't. I really don't have any complaints, man. I was thinking about it after the game. And when we first started this podcast and we talked about this team 2 years ago, we said all we wanted to see is improvement from week to week, right? That this team was getting better from week to week. And I think we've kind of lost sight of that because we're so excited for the chance and opportunity to possibly compete for championships. But it's still the same thing, right? There's no elite team out there. There's not. We're still getting better week to week. Everything we talked about during the bye week, it was better. Defense gave up 10 points. They dominated, right? We tried to get the ball to the slot a little bit more touches for the tight ends. Defense was aggressive. Jordan Travis ran the ball more in the first half than he's ran all season.
That part.
Right? Look, man, as long as we're a championship caliber team that's still getting better week to week, I'm good.
Well, and here's the thing I think we have to be mindful of. Florida State didn't cover the spread. There were some warts, right? Like there were some things that you didn't like.
They were 2 points short. 2 points short.
But I'm just saying, like, the eye test tells you we didn't play a clean game front to back, right? Like it wasn't a perfect game. There were still some lulls. There were still some guys getting open. And Croc, you pointed it out. Some of that could have been to some of the younger players rotating in early. But I said that to say we have yet to play a true complete game, 4 quarters, and we're still 5-0. There's a lot of teams that would make a trade-off right there and say,
yeah, absolutely.
I'll take 5-0, right? So
absolutely.
So, and part of that tells me the best is still yet to come. And I'm excited about it. We, obviously we have Syracuse next week, then Duke, who may or may not be without their mobile quarterback, I think he's a great quarterback, but he's still kind of mending a high ankle sprain. I'm really excited at this point to be 5-0 in October, top 4. There's so many things to like. Let's talk a little bit about fantasy and then cover a couple of other things. But before we do that, I think we had kind of talked offline about introducing kind of a new segment that really is respond. Who do we need to respond and who responded, right? Respond and responded. And Croc, I'll let you go first.
Responded. I'm going to give a big shout out to Trey Benson. My boy responded, ran with conviction, ran with power, and with speed. And then who needs to respond? I'd like to see Kevin Knowles. I know he's still learning a new position, but that freshman year really showed us your elite ability to cover. And so, man, we just have high expectations for you. And so we're looking forward to seeing Kevin Knowles respond when we play Duke.
I want to suggest that you got the benefit going first, Croc, but to keep it interesting, we can't have repeat answers here, Phil. Respond. It has to be different than Croc's. Go ahead.
Okay. Whew. For respond, I'm going with Conrad Hussey.
No, he responded.
That's what I'm saying. Responded. Conrad Hussey definitely responded.
Beautiful hit. Beautiful, clean hit.
Beautiful hit. And then
not even Charlotte could call that one in and try to kick him out of the game. Beautiful hit.
Yes. And then, causing and recovering the fumble later in the game. He gave up a big play a few games ago and didn't see much of the field the last few games. So for him to get back on the field and show that he, his talent and continue to add and build depth at that safety position, I think it's a big deal. Somebody who needs to respond is Jeremiah Byers. 2 games in a row, where you haven't graded out well on the offensive line as far as pass blocking or run blocking. I think the last game, we gave him a pass because it was Clemson, but now it's Virginia Tech and you're giving us the same performance. And so Jeremiah Byers, for me, is somebody who needs to respond.
Good call. I'm going to go with respond first. And along the same lines, man, I hate to do this because he hasn't played awful, but I think he's playing down. The very last drive that we had in the first half, Big Meech got absolutely whooped by their defensive lineman on a spin move that caused Travis to get sacked. And Travis was not happy at all by it. And I'm talking about Emmanuel just completely missed the block. He reached and got whooped on a spin move. So I'm gonna ask Big Meech to step up. And again, I know there's some shuffling going on, and the guy that's next to you last week may be different this week, but that's part of the offensive line. Responded, I have 2 in mind. I know that goes against the rules here, so I'm not going to say that Jared Verse finally responded. I'm not going to use him as my guy, although I think he did. You see how I did that, Croc? How I still stuck him in there?
I like that. I like how you did that.
But my responded, man, big shout out to Alex Mastromanno. When he was in a position to kick, all he did was average over 50 yards and had a long of almost 60. I mean, Alex is my guy. Just the Aussie is booming him. And I, when you're in a position to kick and Florida State's got a really good offense, when we have to punt, he typically puts it back there. So I'm going to give responded to my man, Alex Mastromanno.
I'm going to throw one more in there.
What is going on? What is happening?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Adam Fuller.
Hey, shout out. Correct.
Big shout out to Coach Fuller, starting the game off, knowing that this team's primary weapon is their quarterback, and locking in and really shutting it down. So way to attack and not to wait till the second half to make adjustments. The defense was ready.
I like that.
I agree with that.
I will, for once, I'll give you permission to break rules, sir. So listen, that kind of puts a wrap on Virginia Tech. We'll look forward to Syracuse, who hasn't looked great, and it's at Doak. I think we win that comfortably. Anybody want to give I'm not going to say. Well, let's do a score prediction real quick for Syracuse, and then I want to close up with one last thing.
Score prediction for Duke.
No, Syracuse.
I mean Syracuse. This is a tough one. I don't like to compare how like other teams play, but they've been blown out the last 2 weeks. I'm gonna say 45-17. 45-17.
Whitty?
45-17. I'm gonna go 52. 52-7. 52-7.
Yeah. That's why that's kind of where I'm at, man.
This may be outside of Southern Miss, this is going to be the worst team that I think we played. And if you look, well, in Boston College, yeah, it is what it is. Red bandana game. They had some extra stuff going on. But if you look at what Syracuse has done since week 1, when they scored 62, every single week their point totals have decreased. Last week, they bottomed out with their lowest point total of the season at 14. I don't think that they've faced a defense as good as ours, and it's an away game for them. I like us to have a huge game.
What was your 50, total?
I said 52-7. 52-7.
I'm gonna go 55-10. 55-10. Listen, we started off with 22 points in the first quarter. If Colorado can put up 50, if USC can be putting up 50, why can't we? This is the week we put it all together. And if the run game is clicking, 55-10.
I can dig it. Now, not to say that others haven't really mattered, but did y'all watch football Saturday night? Did y'all catch any of the games that were late?
Oh, yes, I did.
Like, what happened? What was there anything of note? I mean, is there?
Oh, hey, glorious!
I saw
think
something.
Somebody got stung by a bee.
Hey, y'all remember that? Hey, listen, we're all the same age. Do y'all remember the movie My Girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have y'all already? Hey, y'all. They said, and shout out to Paul for sending the. There was a Twitter that said, Who had the worst effect from a stinging insect, Macaulay Culkin or Mario Cristobal?
Oh man, Mario, what are you doing?
Listen, first of all, I loved how Tim Hasselbeck is calling him out live. Like, okay, all we got to do here is kneel. Wait, why are they lining up in anything other than victory formation? Wait, what is happening? Oh my God, they fumbled. This is why you do the victory formation. If that were Norvell, and guys, they were undefeated. Like, this is one of those things where you're setting yourselves up for like, let's see how far we take this, and then that's what gives you your first loss. Like, you talk about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. What?
Yeah. You can't play with Georgia Tech. There's something about them Hornets, whatever they are, but don't keep them close. They will spoil your season. We know about that.
We know about it. And
they will spoil.
And I try to be as respectful as possible because it can turn week to week. But I'm sorry. I've been laughing for the last 2 days and I'm still laughing because I've never seen such a horrible coaching decision in the final seconds of the game.
So game clock, I mean, everybody's seen it at this point. We'll do a quick recap. Game clock is under 40 seconds. Miami has the ball going into third down where literally third and one, you kneel with the game clock under 40 seconds because the play clock is 40 seconds, right? It was 38 seconds when they could have lined up and kneeled and the game is over.
It wasn't even about the play clock, though. It was the fact that Georgia Tech had zero timeouts.
No time. That's what I'm saying. So there's no timeout. There's no way to stop the clock by Georgia Tech. There's no way for Georgia Tech to stop the clock. You have now got the ball under 40 seconds on the game clock. And I'm just reminding people that the play clock is 40 seconds. So literally there's no way for the game to not do anything but end. So then they decided to run the ball. He was down and they gave him the fumble. I'll say
that's even funnier is that he was down.
His elbow hit the ground.
He was down, my guy.
Down.
And Charlotte went to the review and still gave him the fumble.
Charlotte said, if y'all dumb enough to run it on third
You gonna learn.
y'all deserve this.
And then, so what happens? They give up a huge chunk play on. So they threw an incomplete pass on first down. Georgia Tech second down. They get a 20-yard gain, and then you can't. Hey, ask Jarvis Brownlee.
Scramble drill, people.
Ask Jarvis Brownlee. You can't let a guy get deep there. The only way you lose is giving up 6. They let the receiver get behind the furthest defensive back. You got to have safeties and DBs standing at the 5-yard line. Scramble drill, touchdown, Georgia Tech. They go on to win. And then Phil, you said your favorite part was that. Listen, I like the fact that they tried to do that BS middle school, throw it back and forth to try to get something ridiculous. They were trying to recreate their Duke game from a couple years ago. Man, down goes Miami. Miami.
That last minute was so enjoyable. And like, I'm not even wanting to watch a whole Miami game, just rooting for them to lose. Like, I happened to turn to it because I remember last I saw Georgia Tech was up. I was like, oh, let me check the score. And it was a minute left. And I'm like, oh, and that's when I literally turned to it in the middle of Hasselback saying, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing?
Why are they lining up?
This is interesting here.
I woke up to the highlight. I was watching the game. I had sat up out of my bed because I was like, oh, Miami might lose. He has 3 interceptions. And then Georgia Tech threw an interception. I was like, I'm not getting ready to watch Miami.
And Miami got that little first down where it's under 2 minutes and they had the ball and I was like, yeah, it's over.
I ain't watching this. I'm done. And then next thing you know, my phone is just like, what's going on? Crying. Like, Cristobal's face is going to be a forever meme. You know, the offensive lineman crying is going to be a meme.
Forever meme.
My man said, WTF are we doing?
Yes. You're
crying about it, man. Come on now.
What are we doing here?
Wow. Just salty. And Phil, you're right. I don't like to talk about other teams until we beat them, right? Because mess around and lose, and then it all comes back. Like, we lost to the team that did that, right? Like, so I usually withhold comments like this, but it's just too good. This
is an exception. Yeah,
it's just too good.
I couldn't wait. Couldn't wait.
You can't make this up. Oh man.
To be undefeated and have aspirations. And you were undefeated going into a play call that and listen, Mario said he kind of threw everybody under the bus. Like, you know, the player who fumbled it, the offensive coordinator, he has to step in and say, no. Victory formation. And we win. Terrible.
Yeah.
Wait, so he didn't take responsibility?
I think he
did, but
he backed into it. He didn't start by taking responsibility.
Correct.
You can't do that. You can't do it. You just lost your locker room. I'm sorry. You just lost your locker room.
And I just as an aside, there were only about 30 blue chip recruits among the 800 fans in attendance that witnessed that, right? So, and then what I didn't know that he did the same thing that cost him a game against Stanford while he was at Oregon, where he made a situation where he should have just kneeled on the ball. It allowed Stanford to put it into overtime. Stanford ended up winning the game, but I didn't realize this is his second instance. Like, come on, man. You can't make that mistake twice. So unbelievable. Hey, real quick, before we officially close, I think we've mentioned in the past that we do have the podcast available on YouTube. If you guys, we don't get paid for doing this. We do it because we enjoy it. We do it because we hope you enjoy it. But if you guys could please go out there and hit the like and subscribe on YouTube. Continue listening to it however you decide to download this. But if you would please, we're on all the platforms, but just that gives us a gauge of who's actually listening. And here's another thing. We're going to do a giveaway. So we're going to do a Third and Nole giveaway. What we need you to do, please send us an email. It's very simple. Third and Nole, spelled out THIRD and AND, Nole, NOLE, Third and Nole at gmail.com. Send us an email just saying, hey, I enjoy the show. Hey, this is what we like. This is what we don't like. Keep doing it, whatever. But we're going to take anybody who sends us an email and do a drawing and do something for folks that listen. And we'll respond to that email to get information on where to send the eventual winner's gift to. So again, please just help us out so we know that we're reaching an audience and things like that. Croc, Phil, let's close this thing out. The Noles are 5-0, hosting Syracuse in week 6, or I guess technically it's week 7, but our 6th game. Close this out, Croc. Let's do it.
Hold on, cuz. Hold on. I need them fantasy points. I need the fantasy points.
My file's corrupt.
Run them.
Okay. All right.
Run them.
Really didn't want to do this. Coming in third place. Do we have to do this?
Yes.
Coming in third place, yours truly. I had 2 players get me 3 points each, and my team total was 15. 15.
Wow.
Keeping it moving.
Yeah, that's a new low.
Hey, hush. Keeping it moving. Second place, Phil had 51 points.
Congratulations, Phil.
And leading the way for him was none other than Johnny Wilson. Hey man, hold tight. Johnny Wilson got him 21 for his performance. Who knows what that number would have looked like had he stayed in the game.
What
Jared Verse got you, let's see, 13.
Man, you asking a lot, man.
Toa Philly got you 12.
Let's go, man.
With the whole stat line for second.
Yeah, man. Let's go the stat line for second place. First place, Croc, again, 56. Carried in large part to Trey Benson's huge game. He got you
only
36 points. Trey got you 36 points.
Saved by Benson.
Truly.
Haters go hate.
Listen, so that puts us at totals. Phil closed the gap. Still in third place, but Phil closed the gap. He's at 213. I am in second at 229. Croc has expanded the lead and is now at 279.
Yeah.
And still.
And with I'm not liking my positioning right here with my third round pick, Winston Wright, taking a leave of absence from the team.
It's a long season.
Hey, he got me last year.
It's a long season, people.
He got you this year.
All right, guys. Croc, now that we've officially gotten the that out of the way, I'm going to let you close this out.
For sure. As always, it's great to be a Nole. Continue to support the team. We have so much to be excited about. Third and Nole, man.
Oh.
Yeah.
We are out. Later, guys.